All righty, everybody, welcome to tonight's select board meeting, Tuesday, May 5th. We have a big agenda, so we really do want to make sure that we get through it all because we also adjourn. I would like to have the meeting adjourned by 7 because then we move on to our Board of Civil Authority meeting in preparation for the special town meeting on Saturday. So we're going to call the meeting to order and welcome guests. If you'd like to speak, just make sure you raise your hand and, say your name if you want to speak. Otherwise, we don't put down who you are unless you talk. And same as if there's anyone on Zoom who wants to talk, please, we'll try to monitor it and you could raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, so the first order of business is approving the minutes of April 21st, 2026 regular select board meeting. Is there a motion?
That's the special. You're seeing a special.
No, there's two.
Oh, there's two. Oh,
yeah, we had the regular one on the 21st.
Carol hadn't gotten them to me for the 21st, so we have the 28th right now.
We only have the 28th. Okay.
And then we have the 217 BCA for later, but those are the only 2 minutes for.
Okay, we don't have the minutes of the special Colbert meeting either. Okay.
We do for the Colbert meeting.
the Colbert.
Yeah, but I don't think we have them here.
I mean,
We did look at them. Yeah, we all looked at them, but we don't have them to sign. We could approve them and then we could sign them.
And I
print
can
them out
also go
and sign it.
So
That was April 21st. Those were my minutes because it was like a meeting at the Colbert. So the three people who can approve that are Zara, Paul, and Liz. So is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I read them. I'd make the motion to approve.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Okay, so Zara moves and Paul seconds the special Colbert minutes.
I have to abstain. I wasn't.
Yeah, you weren't there. Yeah. Yeah, Larry, you weren't there. So all those in favor of the minutes say aye. Aye. Okay. And then we have today's agenda. Are there considering any amendments to the agenda? I just wanted to acknowledge and thank Brenda for her service. That was not put into these minutes. And then I also received a letter from Dave Shepherd that I included, which is about the class 4 upgrade. Just include that as a correspondence.
I have an amendment.
And just one more.
Yeah.
And then the letter from Sam Bowden, which I don't think is on here, but it's included in our package, I think, is it? Or not? No. No, it's not. Okay, I did bring it. In case we didn't have that. Okay, yes, and you?
My amendment
Jason?
is that, to enter an executive discussion or to include an executive session at the end that would be pursuant to 1 VSA 313 section 1 subpart E, to discuss the potential claims and civil litigation.
Okay.
Discreetly.
Okay,
That could be at the end.
okay. And then the other thing was that, Paul, do you want to say what you would like to add?
Sure.
Please.
Mike Hill has just wanted to apologize for not being able to attend tonight's meeting due to his nonprofit speaking in Vermont Supreme Court tomorrow. So unfortunately, he won't be able to make tonight's meeting because of some obligations he's committed to.
But there was something else about a meeting on Saturday that you wanted.
Oh,
so
yes.
We would have to,
Yes.
I would have to warn that.
I would like to ask Liz to warn I don't have it brought up. A meeting to discuss the starting the process of upgrading the 0.3 section of South Bear Swamp of the class.
So that's something that we can add in under other business. Okay. So with all of that, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
You mean the amended agenda?
The amended agenda, yes.
I'll move.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. Stacy moves, Larry seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Um. Okay, highway report and FEMA roadwork update from Eric. Are you here, Eric?
I am.
Hi,
How are you?
welcome back.
Thank you.
The roads look great, by the way, I
Thank
think.
So not a whole lot to report on other than, the equipment's going. We've been doing, spring grading and hauling gravel to the shop. I talked to, Liz, earlier, and I talked to Cheryl earlier about, possibly purchasing a piece of equipment that falls under our threshold, or our rear. Our purchase. We do have, funds to cover that. I just wanted to let everyone know that we are able to do so if. Which I think we can.
What's the equipment?
The asphalt hot box,
Oh, you've been wanting that for a while.
Yeah.
I think. Yes,
Asphalt hot box.
yes,
It's for filling the potholes with hot asphalt as opposed to cold crack, right?
Correct.
And
It's a
cold
much-
crack doesn't work.
it's a much better fix.
Yeah. Okay, as opposed to hiring someone out too to do it,
Well,
right?
yes, the last time we hired someone out, it cost just as much as this piece of equipment that we would own forever, so. I think in the long run, it's a much better.
Okay, so because it's under the procurement, I didn't think we needed a motion to approve anything, so.
I just wanted-
We're just sort of giving,
I
yeah,
just
thank you for
wanted-
letting us know. Yeah, okay,
Uh,
that's cool.
The other thing I wanted to let you know too is, there was a culvert on the class 4 section of South Bear Swamp that was pretty narrow and kind of dangerous crossing over. And I had marked that with some caution signs today so that no one goes in the ditch.
Okay, where's that?
If you remember during our road walk, it was identified two, it was that really, really narrow.
Oh, the
section
class 4 section.
Of the
Yeah.
class
Yeah.
force.
Large culvert.
Yeah,
It's-
that giant
It's quite narrow.
Yeah, no, I know, we walked on it, it was narrow, okay. Thanks for doing that, so, okay, I just have a question about, and maybe this is a Zara question, or a Zara Paul, Eric question about, the next steps for FEMA repairs for the summer and bidding out and all that, when is that all happening?
So. Paul and I need to sit down and make some drawing of the repairs that. And submit them to.
That's the A and R piece. Yeah, I'm talking about the non-A and R piece, like just the regular work that needs to get done still,
the
like Daniel's
engineer,
Farm and all that stuff that doesn't. Yeah,
That has not been,
RFP.
that has not been done yet. They haven't, did a site visit to do the measurements of all that.
Okay,
I am surprised I haven't seen anything yet for
Yeah.
Lower Sunnybrook and Norton Road.
are you talking about from the state?
No.
No.
From the engineers.
Oh, from the engineers, okay,
Because they're moving the next one they're working on after Lower Sunnybrook and Norton Road, which they should have, I'm surprised I haven't seen anything from them yet. They're gonna be doing Old Brook Road and the Daniels Farm.
okay. And then once we have all that stuff, then you go out for an RFP?
Yeah.
Are we worried that somebody's gonna be booked on summer one?
No, I can confidently say there's gonna be some hungry contractors,
Okay,
so.
Well, and this was all part of the engineer's timeline to
Yeah.
us.
Oh,
Because he
okay.
let us know what
Alright.
he was gonna be RFPing and what.
Yeah.
oh,
the roads
okay,
would
Yeah, they're doing. that.
Project.
Yeah, like
Oh, they're
Eric-
doing
like
that.
Eric said, I'm
Would be done.
actually surprised we haven't seen final drafts.
Is it the
for
Fitzgerald
Lower Sunnybrook.
engineer?
Yes.
Correct.
okay,
Yeah, because I actually anticipated seeing them when I got back and.
Yeah.
okay,
I would anticipate it either.
A reminder to remind them.
okay,
Well, I
so,
think we meet with them Thursday,
Thursday.
so
okay.
I'll find out then.
All right. All right, any questions for Eric on the roads and the FEMA road work yet to be done? No, okay, hearing none. We don't need to approve the access permit, we already did that, I forgot to take that off last month's, or
I
last
saw that, I was like,
agenda, so yay, we don't have to do that. Any updates on FEMA payments from Zara? You sent us something, Zara, and what did you have to say about that?
Portal and Brook Road, the big one, are moving their way through the system, so we'll have the 1.4 million probably by July-ish.
Are they still in a shutdown?
No, they're back up now. They got refunded. And last week I did apply, this is different than our grants for our roads, but for the FEMA brick grant, in relation to the ongoing Great Brook Futures project.
Okay, yeah.
So that would,
That's the building resilient infrastructure communities or something like that. I don't know what the I stands for, but that's it. Okay, so that's the thing that Mike Klein is working on.
right, so we
Yeah.
pushed that through and I don't know when we'll hear back about it, but we have the match was put in the budget last year, so.
Okay. Is there a chance that we'll get it?
Better than
Always a chance.
before.
Better than before, right?
We have a lot more information moving forward through this.
And it coincides with the 1.4 million large Brook Road project going through FEMA, so hopefully
Okay.
they'll flag each other and.
Okay, good. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so can I just, because I'm leaving and I'm gonna forget, I think about this, like the next thing about the A&R, is there anything that needs to be done that we're not doing? I don't think so. We're waiting.
No. So as of right now, while Eric was on vacation, I met with Dan Judkins from Better Back Roads
Oh, good.
and Chad, I don't remember his name
Yeah.
from I think DEC, both Shannon from Wetlands as well as Rachel from Streams recommended that the ditch that is kind of running parallel with South Bear Swamp in the area of that culvert, they wanted a second opinion, so we did have those guys stop out. We had a good meeting, came up with a collaborative approach that we thought would both work for what their biggest concerns were and would also incorporate what likely Shannon would be concerned with having some disconnect between road, water and wetlands impact. So they felt very good about that. So they're going to be submitting something for us that we'll be able to submit as part of our restoration plan. So that's going to work out really well. So we'll be able to, that theirs will be simply a plug and play that can be incorporated. Eric and I have a meeting with Fitzgerald on Thursday just to get a ballpark number and evaluation of the wetland restoration. So we'll be able to figure out if it's something that we need to put out to bid for engineering, something they can do, and really what the scope of work looks like for that restoration. So that'll be actually really, that's kind of something we've been waiting on for a while, is to be able to really get that and see what the nuts and bolts of
Okay.
this repair is gonna look like.
Would you do me a favor?
Mhm.
It's a big one. Would you like do a follow-up email so that we have it and include A&R? I would include also Ryan. I think Ryan McCall is
Yep.
the one who,
Yep.
you know, is making sure that we're staying on task.
Yeah.
That would be really helpful.
I will, and those guys are actually going to, when they email, they're not gonna do it through me, they're gonna send it to all the involved parties. So the
Yeah.
good thing is, it'll come from them, it won't be bypassed, but yes, I can 100% do that as kind of an update on our end
Right,
of things.
that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, for
Okay.
following along with, fixing
Okay,
our.
great. It's not on our like must-do list, but
Right.
I think for our own sake
Agreed.
and, you know, if you were to get hit by a bus, Eric and fall.
Yep.
School bus, I wouldn't know what to do, so. Okay, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Someone's in a good mood today.
Yeah, optimism.
Alrighty, thank you for that. Wait, what? Oh, I'm looking at next week's. Okay, so here we go. Budget committee presentation. We're a little early. Do you think that I should skip over this? Do you think more people are coming at 5:25? Where's Mark?
Right.
Oh, Mark, yeah, hi, sorry. Do you think I should wait a few minutes and
Sure.
I can skip over some things? Why don't we do that? Let's see, it looks like, oh, no, Bridget is here. Okay. Bridget, do you want to do your town clerk update?
Sure.
We had some staffing changes. Brenda resigned on Thursday last week. We've been, operating smoothly with the help of Dorinda and Sarah Merriman. Cheryl's been out with, Bob's surgery, so she'll be back in the office on Friday, I think. We're all set for the special meeting on Saturday. We have the checklist, we have everything in order, the ballot boxes, et cetera. Chairs, stage, everything's all in order. If anybody thinks of anything and wants to double check with me, please do so. Dorinda, took the lead on that yesterday, so we're all set.
Thank you, Dorinda.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Brenda.
thank you, Dorinda. And then we are looking at, an upcoming tax payment deadline, 5/20.
Right.
So,
Make sure.
the office will probably pick up speed a little bit, between, now and then. And that's about it, holding steady, everything's going great.
Great.
May I ask what our thoughts as a group are with next steps regarding Brenda's departure? Obviously, a lot of that will be contingent on what the position holds after
I
Saturday.
think we should
but-
wait until Saturday just to see, what the budget holds for that. You know, well, you're gonna talk about it in the budget, but I do think we probably need more than 8 hours would be my guess, that we'd need probably at least double that to just be able to provide assistant town clerk, duties, you know, to support the town clerk, but we'll hear a little bit more from these guys maybe. Okay, any other questions for Bridget? Oh, I had a question, Bridget. And maybe Dorinda, you know this too. Did you guys actually post the checklist, the voter checklist, like people's names?
So 2 to 10 days prior to, a floor vote, the checklist has to be posted in 2 places. at
I never
least.
knew that. For all of our town meetings, it's always posted, like the
Yeah.
actual checklist?
Well,
Of voters?
it's a consolidated version of it, but it has everybody's.
It has
name.
everybody's name. I had no idea that happened. I guess I don't actually go and look in the public places to see things hanging, but they are, okay,
So we have it on the board, in the corner downstairs,
okay.
outside, and then also, Woodbelly. So
Oh, yeah,
alongside Woodbelly.
nice.
And it was also, it can be an option to be at Rumney as well.
Okay. And actually, while I have you here, Dorinda, and it's not quite 5:25 yet, Zara and I were going over the future agendas for when I'm gone. And we wanted to know, based on, let's just assume that, you know, the budget is fine on Saturday, what the last possible date for setting the tax rate for the August bills is for us to approve it at the, like, which meeting is that?
The tax bills have to be in the mail 30 days before the tax due date, so they'll be due August 20th. So that means they have to go out by 12/20.
Okay, so they have to go out by 12/20, which means that, so what this means, guys.
12.
July.
Yeah, 7/20. Yeah,
So,
it's a long 30 days.
so, you're being confused with me. So here's the question, guys, for the select board meetings. Okay, I'm not gonna be here, so I don't have a real opinion about this. But the first and third Tuesdays of the month are the 7th and the 21st. I'm back for the 21st. Alternatively, you could do the 14th and the 28th, and would the 14th be enough? It was last year.
They potentially could get them out in a week. I mean, that gives them a whole week.
It gives them basically, it gives them the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Otherwise, we have to set the tax rate on the 7th, and that's a week that I'm definitely not here, which is fine, but like, is everyone gonna be here? Cause that's July 4th week.
Yeah, I'm here.
That's, I mean,
So if we set it, so then we would have to, is that too early? That's not too early.
No,
is it?
no, because you have to have them out by the 20th.
You have to have them out by the 20th anyway.
Let's
And
based on,
basically, I think, when's their final grand list? Something,
We went to that, but we done by,
it's June something,
I think
isn't it?
we've got to roll the final in by August. We think when it, the preliminary is about June 4th, right?
June, that's
Right,
what
so
we're
we're
at.
gonna do that.
Preliminary, we got the,
We'll do
right,
it
the
too.
grievance is 14 days. So you're talking June. I think it's August 4th.
Okay, so then we'll have to use the preliminary grand list
Yeah.
to base the tax bills on.
Is the 7th okay of July? Okay. So that's gonna be on the July 7th.
No, the preliminary is gonna be June.
But for setting the tax.
The abstract is done on June 3rd or June 4th. The deadline is June 4th. But with grievances, we gotta do within 13 days. Just give me a minute. So I think it's still,
Do you wanna look at my calendar?
yeah. I know the whole thing first. I'm just trying to think out loud here. So. So we'll probably do in grievances, like meet them at the 19th, and then we have so many days to get back then. You know what? I don't know. My calendar right there for all this version.
The preliminary is fine because unless you're expecting a huge.
Oh,
a lot
because
of
then you
grievances.
adjust people's taxes after, I see, okay.
Yeah, I don't think we're expecting a huge.
You're not expecting a huge, yeah. I think we're gonna be fine
Okay.
if we go with grand list.
Okay, so we're gonna say,
7th.
July 7th, yep, okay.
And then that gives, the office plenty of time to generate.
Yeah, the final grand list is launched August 14th.
Yeah.
So I think you'd wanna do it when the abstract is done.
Okay. All right, why don't we just move ahead with the budget? We're 5 minutes ahead, 4 minutes ahead. So Mark, would you like to
Sure.
talk?
So we held the special budget meeting on April 23rd with petitioners and other folks. That went pretty well. We got a lot of feedback. When we talked specifically about the budget, certainly we had folks from different points of view. Some folks wanted to increase the budget. Some folks wanted to cut it. So we took that feedback and we did some analysis. I say we because Matt did most of the analysis. I sort of scratched the surface and then Matt did the data mining. So what we tried to do was we focused a lot on the town office staffing, since that was a pretty big item of discussion at the April 23rd meeting. So we decided to look at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns data, which we used when we set our wage band for our positions back July 1st of last year. So we had identified a cohort of 18 towns that were similar to ours in population, that is between 1,500 and 2,000 people. So we went back to that data. So the LCT gives you a whole bunch of data every year on towns. It's only as good as what towns submit. So is subject to some level of error or variance. And what we found when we looked at hours, just total number of hours annually that we allocated budget-wise for fiscal year 27 to the town office, that falls in the top half of the 18 towns easily. So we're above median. And when we add the town administrator to that and compare it with towns that have a town administrator, we jump even higher. We jump almost, if not to the top of the list, but close to the top of the list in hours. I'm gonna talk about salaries in a minute as a percentage of town budget.
So they provide hours of service.
They do,
Okay.
they do.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Are you talking about what we have set up right this very moment in time, or what we have budgeted?
The fiscal year 27 budget. So we looked at,
Mark, it's actually from 2025. It's the VLCT data.
yes, it is, but our budget, we're comparing to that data, right? Because they're always a year behind.
Are you also including, you're not including the road crew, this is just
Nope.
office staff?
Just
Okay,
down
so,
to the set.
so what we had budgeted was 32, 8 plus 40. Right?
Right, but if you're just looking at town office, so we looked at two different scenarios. Scenario one was town office with clerk, assistant clerk, treasurer, assistant treasurer. That's one option. And the second option was adding the town administrator at 40 hours a week. So we compared to towns that just had option one and towns that had option two. And that's gonna correct me where I go.
Okay,
But anyway, option one with hours, we're well within the top half of the 18 towns. When we had town administrator on top of that and look at those towns, we're still in the top half and we're near the top. So from an hours perspective, we look pretty healthy. Then we said, well, we didn't say it, Matt did. Matt said, let's look at.
You propose a ratio.
Right, actually, I did scratch the surface and then I deferred.
I just didn't like it.
The hard work tonight. So then we looked at, we said, let's take another perspective here. Let's look at what towns are spending on just salary for their town office staff as a percentage of the total budget of the town. So we looked at, again, in the 18 town cohort, and we started in the VLCT data. And we came up with, again, we're in the top half.
is
Easily.
that with benefits too?
We don't look at benefits, we just look at salary because we don't know how other towns do benefits.
Okay.
It could vary considerably.
Right.
So we just.
And just for the
Yeah.
people, VLCT stands for Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns, and
Yeah.
they're like the municipal resource for Vermont that provides us with all
Yep.
sorts of
Yeah,
information
and they provide us
and supports. And things.
data every year on the 260 towns. From salary information, hours information, et cetera. So anyway, when we looked at the LCT in terms of salary as a percentage of town budget, again, we look very good. And we did compare with a couple of towns in our cohort, Calais and Cabot. So Calais has a town administrator, Cabot doesn't.
Mhm.
So when we looked at Cabot and compared ourselves to Cabot, we're very similar in what we spend on the town office as a percentage of the budget. It's right around between 5 3/4 and 6%,
And that is without the town administrator.
without the town administrator. When we add the town administrator in, again, we jump up to, I think, 4.
So it goes from like 5.6 to
Yeah.
about 8 point.
Yeah, so when we look at that, Calais spends about 8.8% of their budget on town office when they have a town administrator. We spend 8.95, almost 9%. So
With the
again,
town administrator.
we're comfortably,
Earlier one.
we're in sync with what other towns are doing. And the reason that we did this was, remember, every town is experiencing the same growing pains that we are in terms of the state putting more and more on a town clerk's plate or in the town office's plate. So we said, let's look at a level playing field and see what's going on in that cohort. The other thing that Matt did, because there were some differences, if you looked at a town report for a town, like the latest town report, and what the VLCT data said. Matt ran some numbers. Again, he went through
I went through 20 towns.
Yep, he went through the towns and he ran the numbers. And again, if we look at salary as a percentage of the budget based on just town reports, we are, without a town administrator, we're just at a hair above median, so we're 9th out of 18 towns. If we add in the town administrator, we jump up to 4th. So again, whatever measure we're using, it's consistently showing us well-resourced for the town office based on a town of our size. We also looked at a couple of outliers. I'll just mention if you might, Matt might remember a few more. We looked at Waterbury. Waterbury has a town budget of about 9 million. For their town office, they spend about 3.3% of their budget on the town office. We looked at Warren. They have a town budget of 5 million. They spend about 4% of their budget on their town office. Now, neither of them, I think, have town administrators.
I'm not sure about that one. I would add just to that is that I think Waterbury was between 300 and 400 grand in an office. And Warren is about 300 grand.
They don't have a town,
Waterbury got a town
manager.
manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we put, that's in there. That's in that 3.3.
This is when we talk about these numbers, these are coming from the town report for the town office, which typically doesn't include select board assistants and those, but will include administrator.
Yeah.
Or treasurer.
So armed with all that information, we had our meeting last Wednesday on the alternate budget. And so, we talked about a bunch of things. There were some opinions, could we raise the budget a little? There was also comments about, could we cut the budget a little? Could we put some more hours in for the assistant clerk? And maybe cut somewhere else? What we came out of that meeting with was we're proposing to you the same budget we had. And we can have a discussion on whether we want to change that a little bit or not, or if you want to add hours to the assistant town clerk. And my recommendation would be that we find some other place to cut to keep that budget the same, because I think it's going to be much more palatable to people if we have a budget that's the same if we're increasing town hours, but that's just one person's opinion. So that's where we are, folks.
What does that dollar amount roughly equate to? Obviously, hours would vary on that.
You mean the additional 8 hours?
Yeah,
It's about 10 grand. Between $10,000 and $11,000 in terms of salary. If the assistant town clerk gets to 17.5 hours a week, then benefits come in. Then we're adding at least, depending on one person or two person, it could be up to 33,000 for just healthcare alone.
But this would be my opinion. I would prorate a very part-time person's benefit. I would not give them 100% benefit.
You don't have any choice with the retirement. It's a set rate.
Okay, the
And
retirement,
that's-
but for health
So,
insurance?
For health insurance and that it's our personnel policy says we don't pay health insurance until they're a full-time person. And so I would have to see, I'm not me, I think who's ever gonna handle it would have to check into it and make sure that because some benefits have to start depending on what it is at 17.5, like, the state passed a thing, I think a couple of years ago where you had to pay sick time for even prorated sick time. And it may be the same thing with the health insurance. I haven't done it for a couple of years, so I really, without checking on it, but our personnel policy says one thing and that's kind of what we've always gone with, but as far as anything that's changed with the law, the employment laws, we'd have to.
And yeah, go ahead, sir.
I was a little confused. I zoomed in on the first meeting, and did you say that we had actually budgeted more hours for office workers because we had a full-time treasurer and then also a full-time clerk this year?
I thought we had, but I stood corrected.
Okay,
Because we had the assistant town clerk / bookkeeper hours in two places. We had them under the office staff, and then we had 300 hours stuck under select board assistant. That came down and made the assistant town clerk / bookkeeper full time. So it's the same number of hours, it's just allocated differently. So think of it as 72 hours a week without the town administrator, just allocated differently.
Yeah. But it really just ended up going to town clerk assistant. It didn't end up going to select board assistant.
Right.
Right, yeah. So I just want to clarify again, because I feel like we can't repeat enough. Because it's so confusing, this meeting on Saturday, right? I mean, it really is. So on Saturday, I don't have the warning in front of me. I should probably.
It's at the bottom.
Oh, okay. So the no, this isn't it. That's the Oregon Civil Authority. Do you have it up? No, you don't. Okay, I thought you were gonna look it up.
Never
for me.
heard that
Okay.
triggering one.
Let me get it so that I have it properly. Now that Bridget, I think you sent it at one point, right?
I believe so.
That Bridget would have sent the,
And did you say something?
we don't have it posted up here. Bridget, is it downstairs?
Do you want me to read it off of the website?
Yeah, oh, perfect, yes.
Okay. The legal voters of the town of Middlesex are hereby notified and warned to meet at Rumney Memorial School, 433 Shady Grove Road in said town of Middlesex on Saturday, May 9th, 2026 at 10 a.m. to act on the following business from the floor. Article 1, shall the town of Middlesex reconsider the vote taken on March 3rd, 2026 on Article 6, which read, quote, to vote a fiscal 2026-27 budget of $2,261,978.14 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the town and authorize the select board to set tax rate sufficient to provide the same. End quote. You want me to read Article 2?
No, not yet. So then, first, let's cover that one. So that is going to be up for discussion. And the question is, at that meeting on Saturday, do we want to rescind the vote that happened on town meeting that said, yes, we are passing this budget? You look confused.
Yeah. Article 1.
You agree with that, right?
If Article 1.
No, just what's happening in Article 1. Article 1 is that we are deciding whether or not we're going to rescind the budget vote, the vote of March 3rd, which was a yes vote. And so people will have the opportunity to say, yes, I think we should, because I feel like we needed to have more discussion about it. Or yes, I think we should, because I really want to talk more about this budget, right? Other people might say, no, I don't think we should rescind this budget because we already voted on it and I think it's a good budget, right? So you're gonna have people from two sides and Susan Clark's gonna be moderating it. And eventually it's going to call a vote on Article 1. Shall the town reconsider the vote? Susan Clark, just so everyone knows, so sure she is. Susan Clark is going to recommend that we do a paper ballot. So paper doesn't mean like a check, not like what we do on the Australian ballot. Paper ballot is literally a piece of paper that's gonna say yes or no for Article 1.
I'm not gonna recommend it. I'm gonna ask if anybody wants to.
Yeah, okay, she's gonna ask if anyone wants to. And so,
People want to, then we'll do it.
yes,
That's all.
right, so the default is that it's a floor vote, yays or nays, but you can also have other choices, which is by hand or by paper ballot. And we believe that if people feel like nervous or they don't want people to know how they voted, that paper ballot is going to be a good suggestion, and hopefully someone will move that, right? And that we vote on paper ballot so people feel like it's anonymous how they vote. So if the yays win and there's enough votes, and it's just by majority of one vote, probably, right? As long as
Paper ballot?
yeah, for paper ballot.
Only takes seven people. You don't know, but.
No, once the paper ballots are tallied.
Once they're tallied, if it's like one vote over, then that means that we move on to Article 2. If it doesn't pass and there's more no's than yeses, then we stick with that budget of 2 million something that she just read. If the yeses win, we are going to recommend a budget, and it's gonna have to be on a motion. Someone's gonna have to move, and it probably should be the board moves, because we need to show that we are supportive of this budget that we're moving, right? That we would move, that we consider a budget of 2 million,
Same
the
amount.
same amount, if that's what we agree on tonight, like we might say, no, let's add in 10,000 for a little bit more. That motion, if it's approved, then it sort of becomes just like town meeting, right? You get a chance to talk about it, you get a chance to say, I think it's too much, I think we need to remove this position, or I think we need to add this position, or I think we also need to support the Girl Scouts, right? Something like that. So there will be an opportunity to talk about that budget and make motions to amend it, right? Just like at the town meeting. That only happens if we get to Article 2. So is that clear? Did I say that clear enough?
Yeah, so,
Clear as the mud season, right?
so
Exactly.
a no, adjourned.
Adjourned.
Correct.
Yep. Budget stands as is,
Stands.
right?
Yeah.
And it could be after Article 2, the original vote stands too, but people have had a chance to talk about it, right? So I just want to make that clear that that this is how the meeting could unfold. So I think Mark is suggesting that we go with the same budget, and I think that I did say there's action possible, so we could, as a select board tonight, just say, make a motion to say that we are going with the budget committee's recommendation, or we could spend a few minutes talking about changing it in some way for the number that we're gonna present. Yes, Sarah.
Again, at the first meeting, I heard that if we bumped it up 20,000, I think that you were talking about in the first meeting that you had, the budget committee, that it would go from 5% to 7.5%, is that right?
That sounds too high.
You were talking about,
Okay, I think what I was saying was for every 20 to 22,000 that we add to the budget, that's another cent on a municipal tax bill. So right now, our estimate is.
For every $100,
Pardon?
a cent for every 100.
Yes. So it's, again, right now, we're at a 5-cent increase based on this budget. But if we add 10,000 to it, it's probably another half cent to that increase.
What do you mean this budget? Isn't it the same as what it was?
No, if you.
if you
If we add it. Gotcha.
Good news is they're proposing the same, so regardless, the bottom dollar stays the same unless we add or something.
Unless we add or subtract, right? So,
May I ask if the budget committee talked about any possible cuts somewhere else in order to keep the budget as proposed or as approved, but to find.
So there was some discussion about the road commissioner because, that was a subject that came up in the April 23rd special budget meeting. So Matt's research showed that in some of our cohort towns,
Alice.
yeah, Cal's one of them, they just pay the road commissioner $10,000. There's no hourly wage, it's just a $10,000 stipend. So again, we're within shouting distance of what towns near us are
I'm
doing.
sure that's correct. I thought Corey Bradshaw
Commissioner.
was the road commissioner.
Yes.
It might just be part of
And
his
he's
salary.
just getting an extra, oh, okay. Interesting. Okay,
How they've paired out his
Yeah.
duties.
yeah, okay.
So that's one thing that was talked about. The other thing, I think, can I use your name, Sam?
I hope you use my name.
So Sam brought up, and I had looked at the two, the legal fee, is there, because originally we had, I think the increase in legal fees was up to, the budget number was going from 7,500 to 50,000. Now it's going from 7,500 to 30,000, and to talk about, do we really need that much for legal? We don't. I mean, it's just a good guess, right? That's all it is right now, is a guess. And if we had a town administrator, could that person take over some of that some of those issues, so we wouldn't be talking to Rob so much. I don't know, that was another area that was discussed. So I think those two, I'm looking at budget committee members. I think those are the two items, aligned.
I mean, we talked about shifting hours too, like if you reduce the town administrator to still be full-time, but hopefully still appealing as full-time, you could maybe bring some of those hours over.
Yeah,
And we talked a little bit about increases, more for capital improvements would be an option if the crowd wants increases.
okay.
Or increasing office hours straight up. That's my list of the things that we had for decreases and increases as options.
My personal opinion as of today is to not take away from the legal fees.
Yeah, I think so too. And I have to be honest that he's undercharging us right now.
Yeah.
And I asked him not to because it's not fair for him to be not, he's giving a lot of time to this and I asked him
It's
to
not looking
please,
good for that.
yeah, I asked him to please charge what he needs to be charging.
It's not here. How bad is that hot box needed?
I know, Eric.
It's only $6,000. It's only,
Hot box.
I know.
honestly,
The difference.
No, it's not
fiscal
$6
years
grand.
anyway,
This is
but-
something else. This is a little more. This is more than $6 grand.
it's, we count up how many times people call and threaten the
no.
lives of these guys
Yeah,
because they hit a.
Yeah, no, I want the potholes
Yeah, no,
fixed with the hot. Okay, all right,
I
so,
had 27's approved numbers in front of us to
to
do a
look,
quick
yeah.
think tank.
What do you guys think? Should we, in the interest of time? Yes, Larry.
Question, Mark, so what you're recommending is basically the same budget that was approved, or is there any changes that you recommended? And then I know we've heard of ideas and you're kind of throwing it to the board, but could the budget committee vote on anything that says this is what we believe could work, or is?
Not really. The only discussion that gained some traction was, I think it was Elias and Dorinda talking about adding 8 hours to the assistant template.
Which is 10
Or
grand.
maybe just adding 8 hours to the town office and deciding how that gets enforced.
Yeah, which is the 10 grand.
Well, it's
Half
probably
percent.
more than 10 grand, somewhere between 10 and 11 grand. I mean, I don't have a calculator in front of me, but it's,
But it's the half a cent.
pardon,
It's that half a cent.
yes.
Oh, sorry, yes, Highland.
Well, yeah, and I would just say, for me, to me, that I would pair that with reducing the town administrator position. I think the dollar amount you have, you spent a lot of time making it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be really messy to try to change it on the spot.
Yeah.
But I also think that, the whole meeting, we were under the understanding that like the select board has leeway to adjust individual line items within
Yeah.
the budget. So to me, the most valuable thing we can do is continue to hear from people as to what they want changed. It might be that the dollar amount stays the same, but some tweaks, the select board says, we're gonna tweak some of these line items to meet people's needs.
And I think we saw enough vocalization at town meeting to all agree that there's gonna be a majority that do not want to just see a overall increase at this point.
I get that. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, I think, and I do think just, even if it's to start that, a 32-hour a week town administrator is a reasonable, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Concession, not even concession, but just
But we're
that I
gonna
think it's
salary that
possible.
position, so it's gonna cost the same,
Well,
32 or 40.
not if we didn't salary it. Yeah, that, right?
And then that opens the can of worms where they're,
I forget why, I forget that whole.
Well,
salary
it's
part.
because the
Why, what was?
nature of the duties.
Oh, right,
yeah.
commensurate With
Yeah.
a exempt position, there's a lot of like independent decision making and authority that we're outsourcing, and so it, but you can, I think you can dial back, like, what we risk is by dialing back the salary and hours that we will not be
Fine.
competitive
Yeah.
on the market when we compare ourselves to like similar town administrative positions that are, being offered. So that's the sticky point, I think,
Yeah.
is like, we need to figure out who our target person might be. I think if I had to create like an alternative solution to throw in, I've seen like the LCT has some posts about possibly sharing a town administrator. If like, I don't know if there's any, you know, like if any neighboring towns are entertaining this as well. But there's,
I know Moortown is.
it's
Based on
not
my
a
Conversations with them, but
completely out of, you know,
it's a hard.
left field to consider having an administrator that, you know, together between two towns comprises a full-time position. I have no idea what that looks like or how we would go about that, but that's, I also think like realistically looking at budget, the actual, you know, even assuming if the TA position is funded on Saturday, it's going to be like, we're not hiring someone and paying full time, you know, to realistically, that line item isn't going to start, you know, take effect until, I think August is really ambitious.
I think so too.
I don't foresee candidates lining up out the door.
Yeah,
for
I
this
think that
position. I
August
think
is
it's going
too.
to take some time. You know, but that's kind of hedging bets, right? That's not necessarily a solid plan or something
Yeah.
we can transition.
And then it's something that
Those are my.
folds
my
into the
thoughts.
next year too, though, yes.
So Bill Price has mentioned a few times in meetings that there are about somewhere between 9 and 11 towns right now that are looking for town administrators. And the salaries are higher than what we're offering. So we need to keep that in mind in terms of remaining competitive in the market.
Yeah, I actually looked into that, and a lot of those places with higher salaries had public works like water and sewer and things that our town administrator wouldn't have, you know, like it was kind of a deeper thing.
Okay, thank you, Zara. Matt.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to this discussion around the technology. One of the reasons I went through the town report was to look at these. 72 is within the range, and it's common to see people start there. A lot of towns in that group were paying a little bit more, but you know, I think see the down straighter. It tends to start around that number. We're right around what everyone else is paying. You know, right from 72 to 90. You know, like that was the range I was.
And we have the most amazing benefits in the whole state of Vermont.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to say is that it wasn't uncommon for towns, especially once the budget went over 2 million, to have a full-time town administrator, as well as a full-time clerk and a full-time treasurer. But it was also very common to have a full-time town administrator, full-time clerk, and part-time treasurer. So that's just speaking to sort of the 75% percentile of hours of pay.
Well, the other option too is, you know, once Bridget gets
Question,
up.
go ahead.
I just wanted to repeat that comment, because it seemed important.
Okay, Matt, can you repeat that?
The last.
The last part. So it was common for towns once they had budgets over 2 million.
Yeah.
To have a town administrator, a clerk, and a treasurer. But it was also just as equally common to have a town administrator, a full-time clerk, and a part-time treasurer.
What I wanted to add is that, once, you know, Bridget gets up to speed with the town clerk duties. You know, she has deputized Dorinda and Cheryl as assistant town clerk, so there's. You know, if Cheryl finds that, you know, she has actually time to help out with assistant town clerk. You know, maybe that's part of her 32 hours is also doing assistant town clerk and treasurer.
Yes, Zara, I would also say that as we are hiring a town administrator, that person would want to learn the jobs that are going on here to help cover. And so they might be helpful up to.
They can also be deputized as, you can have as many assistant town clerks and assistant treasurers as you want.
I guess I feel like right now,
But that's Bridget's decision.
yeah, this is a good start. And I think you guys are starting the next round of budget talks in August. And that would be a really great time to invite the community in and maybe do like a roundtable like we've never done before at the budget committee and say, here, we're gonna start our budget talk. So anybody who has something might want to come in and meet with the budget committee and do a little roundtable to get us started in August, which is only.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can. Bill,
Yeah. Yeah, Zara's got a good point there, that the fact that we need to open it up for the people of the town to see what actually happens and what we need. And maybe they will, that with that information, they will support good, bad, indifferent of the usefulness of the money. So when we raise it, we're doing it for a reason because we need manpower. You know, we don't have the sufficient amount of people because you don't want to get burned out. You're going to do 3 jobs. You're not going to last very long. I'm sorry. It's going to burn you out.
Thank you, Bill.
And then like Brenda, you call it quits because I can't do 3 and we have nobody to pass it on or separate it. So we divvy up the work better. There's nobody going to be around to do that with.
thanks, Bill. So board, what is the pleasure? Is it to keep the budget as is? And
Yeah.
try to figure it out
Yep.
if we get it and it's the same. So we're to propose the same budget. Okay. Do we want to make a motion?
Well, I would feel better about hashing out what that looks like.
What do you mean?
Why we would keep it that way, and if
How
we
we
were
would-
going to restructure, where we would
cut?
where we would find that. I think that's important for us to do tonight.
I don't think we can.
I don't, yeah,
But
no.
About the budget in front of me, I don't have, which we don't have, so.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from more people in town if we do, or know that people in town want to stick with what they voted in the first.
Well, and the only reason I say that is from our stance as the board. We've got the meeting coming up Saturday, so we won't be meeting again before that.
My stance is that at this point, unfortunately, our assistant is gone. So we would have to be training a whole new person. We have volunteers that are helping fill in. You know, I know that like Cheryl's got some stuff going on. Bridget is just learning her job. But it is what it is. I mean, we're in this place, you know, human beings have human things that happen. And we just have to kind of get through it and all do our best and chip in where and how we can. I mean, we're talking about 8 hours a week. So I think we can figure that out. So
10,000 is what we're talking about, I think, and 10 or so, and we just don't have the budget in front of us to be able to say how we're gonna.
Another comment. If you're
Yes.
going to leave it alone, what's all the to do about all this time? If the suggestion is leave it alone and try it, and then you got another year to get a better estimate as people are needed,
right,
and it's over with.
right.
Accept it as one because the budget committee assume roughly the same. Let's work with it. Why do we go all this effort, all this time and say, we made a mistake, let's try it? Because, you know, if we're not going to help increase it or decrease it, why have all this time spent on it?
Yeah. I think in August, when the budget starts getting redone for next year, that's when we can determine what more is needed for the office and add that in.
I also think what the second question is on the warning is that basically we're gonna present the budget. It's the budget we presented originally that was voted on and approved. So for us to go in and maybe if there's no other recommendations, I think that's a floor discussion and
Yeah.
a floor vote. Let the people who brought the petition argue their point on the floor. I think that's a fair thing to do, and let the townspeople hear, and this is what the selectmen think, select persons think. That's moving forward. We presented this budget originally and we're presenting it again. You tell us what you want changed, and if the townspeople want to do it, we do it.
Makes sense.
Okay. So do we have a motion to, and I think it should come from, I think that at town meeting, if we make it to Article 2, that someone from the select board moves to make a motion to suggest I'm not sure how the motion would be, that we consider a budget of the exact same number. So
Could
we don't have to decide who does that, but someone should do it. I don't know if it's me or somebody else.
It's you.
I'm leaving town the next day.
You're leaving, exactly, definitely you.
Someone's
Would
gonna
it pay?
second it.
Would it pay?
Um,
Question, would it pay not just have one and say, the budget committee has evaluated it? We, as a select board, has looked at it, and we will try this number, 2,264,000, whatever that
Yeah.
is. And that's it.
yeah, that's what we would do.
I think I like, because that format mirrors what's done at town meeting.
Yeah.
Where we say, here's the budget, and then the budget committee speaks about it.
Yeah.
And then the select board speaks about it, and then it goes to the floor. And so if Article 1, if the vote on Article 1 is, yes, we reconsider our budget, then we are simply starting with the
same
budget.
number.
And the reason we're starting with that same budget is because after additional diligence, meetings, like hearings, et cetera, engagement, the budget committee has recommended the same budget, and the select board is endorsing the same budget, and then the discussion will follow. That to me seems straightforward.
Okay.
Also, then there's no surprises in terms of like proposing a radically alternative budget that's not formally warned.
Mhm.
Like the original number is in Article 1. Like I'm comfortable just personally with the way that would be structured. Yes, sorry. Susan, yeah.
So the thing that you just said, Stacy, are you where the people in the room get to hear that the budget committee thinks this number is good, the select board thinks this number is good? You were saying that would come under Article 2 or?
Yeah.
under- See, I feel like that comes under Article 1.
It's not real, but it's,
Because what the people in the room are needing to decide is whether we want to reconsider this budget or not. Like, the people in the room are like, okay, we all came together to decide whether to reconsider that. And I'm not saying that, but, and so as a voter, I would think I would want to know, okay, well, what does everybody think about reconsidering? And it would be interesting to me as a voter to know that these committees have looked at this and they don't, it's sounding to me like you're saying that you think that the number is solid and reconsideration isn't what you think should happen. I mean, like,
I think-
so that would help me understand. If you give me one point of reference and then other people can say, no, we actually think it should be reconsidered and here's why, but it would. Sorry.
Yeah,
No,
go
that's all right.
ahead.
I was waiting to finish. I went to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I think that, I agree with Stacy, it comes under Article 2. I think what the question you want to ask is, does the budget committee feel there should be a reconsideration? And does the select board think there should be a reconsideration of the budget? It's a basic question. I don't think we should get into numbers. I don't think we have to get into numbers. It's so we, as a board, can sit there and explain our position that we do not believe it should be reconsidered, or we do believe it should be reconsidered. And the same thing with the budget in that discussion of Article 1. And then if the townspeople decide, I mean, if the vote goes, yes, we do want to consider it, then we can break it down to numbers and so forth.
Yeah, okay.
I think there's gonna be a lot of discussion right off the gate.
Oh, yes.
I don't think you're gonna be able to keep the horses in the pen with Article 1. I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, I think everything that Stacy said is gonna be said in Article 1
That's-
already, and then it will be said again. This is why we're proposing the same number, right? I think that's why.
That's what I thought.
So I think it would behoove us to make a motion that we are, supportive of considering the same budget if we reach Article 2. Is there a motion that someone wants to make for that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Larry seconds. So all those in favor of if we reach Article 2, did you have another comment?
No, I was gonna say,
All those in favor of if we reach Article 2, that the select board will make a motion to have the town consider a budget in the amount of the same amount. Which I
Aye.
can't repeat because I don't know the number. All those say aye. Aye, okay. So the aye, did you vote, Larry?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, the ayes have it. So it would be helpful, maybe it comes from the select board, it probably should come from the select board, that we send a. I think it would be helpful to the voters to know that the budget that we are supporting is the current budget. Does that make sense? Is that gonna be confusing? Because I think people are like, well, what are we gonna vote on in Article 2? I'm like, and so that's something that we could put out. I'm also worried no one's coming to this meeting. Everyone's gone, people are on vacation, nobody wants to come, and so I think it'd be important for us to also ask everyone to invite their friends and neighbors that are Middlesex voters to come to the meeting. So that we have people who are helping us think about our entire town budget for fiscal year 27, so. Okay, so I can pull that together. Maybe I'll run it by you just to make sure that I have it correct, and get that out like tomorrow or something.
Yeah.
Maybe have it out
I think
ASAP, so. Okay, so moving right along, we already did the town clerk's report, so that's cool. And we didn't do the treasurer's update, so she wanted to reiterate that she doesn't have like some of the, what did she say? I have to read it as the word she used. Some of the budget actuals.
May not be current to this moment.
Right.
Well, look, we didn't use $6,000 worth of select board clerk, so there's 6,000.
Well, that's last year's budget.
Right, but that gets moved
Yeah.
to general fund.
The budget status here it is. So she says, please bear in mind that this does not have adjusting entries for prepaids, accrued and closing, and any other entries for the fiscal year 2025 audit. I have worked with the auditor today with several items and pulling more samples for the blood, the lawyer letter, and the issues since they gave you all the regular audit in February. And that turned out good. I was also able to chase down a couple, okay, delinquent tax people, all right, all right. And she wanted us to know that Bob had a good spinach salad.
Good.
Okay. Okay. So basically what we're looking at here, guys, is how much of the budget we have, how much we've actually spent, and the percentage. So things that I sort of look at are really low percentages or really high percentages, like what's up with the workman's comp insurance? I guess that was something we didn't budget for. 2,000%.
That's like a prepaid.
Oh,
I
it's
think that's what might be one of the adjustments.
oh, okay, gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, and the one big one that stood out to me beyond road stuff was auditing. Auditing was up significantly, close to double what was budgeted.
Yeah.
Is that an annual? Can that be expected to be?
The regular audit, is that what it's, I don't know what you're looking at.
So it's under administration.
Yeah.
So
Which page?
That's our.
that's number one, sorry, at the bottom, be the third one up from the bottom.
It's our annual audit, and it is double from what it has been in the past,
Okay.
because of the FEMA money we're receiving,
Oh.
they have to do an entire separate audit just on.
Boy, if that's the case, that's likely gonna be the case for next year as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It absolutely will.
Okay.
So when you look at the actual, you say, well, how many, I'm sort of make an assumption this was pulled, that we still have May and June expenses.
Yeah, that, she's
Mhm.
probably through April there, I would assume
Yeah.
she closed out. She probably didn't close out April, but all the expenses.
All the
should be in.
expenses should be there, right? So, we should be at, whatever that percentage is, like 80% or something like that.
I was shocked how much less fuel we consumed this
Just
year,
noticed that.
despite the winter we had.
Yeah.
And despite the fuel prices being what they are. I was,
Well, maybe they haven't put in that last June delivery.
yeah, probably. Zara, one thing I was gonna mention to Eric, because we've still got over 60% of the culvert budget, would be good to max that out.
Well, I know like road gravel, I know they've been trucking that in, so that's
for
gonna go
sure.
way up.
That for sure, but I was thinking culverts because we could buy now and have the stockpile.
We're actually working with Keith from Central Vermont
Oh,
Regional
okay.
Planning Commission and Johnson Hardware to buy in bulk all of those culverts. We had that
Awesome.
conversation a little over a month ago.
Awesome.
Yeah. Or well, after the war started, but
Yep.
Do we have any hope that our summer maintenance won't all be spent? We're at 58% right
I
now.
don't want to speak for Eric because I don't
Yeah.
do anything on the day to
I think
day.
with all the culverts we're gonna be replacing and things like that, probably.
It was the road gravel. We've only spent 14,000 of the 60K.
No, but they've
Well,
been
they're
trucking it in right
Yeah,
now,
so
about
like Zara
30,000.
said, I would
Okay,
consider
so we'll
that
say
to,
it's all.
I would
yeah.
call that fully consumed by the time
Yeah,
June 30th hits.
we'll be able to save that $1,500 in cold patch.
Well, and I looked at when Eric mentioned that, because originally I had talked about maybe some hazard tree removal under subcontracted services, but when he brought up that hot box, I can't really think of a better way to spend 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody would argue on any of our pavement with that.
Yeah.
The heat, was the heat for that doesn't include that expense of purchasing the heating system, does it?
That would probably fall under.
That would be under
maintenance.
maintenance,
Yeah.
not utilities.
Garage
So
maintenance.
the garage was a lot to heat this winter, $7,000.
I haven't, well, you can throw a cat through
I know,
places.
I know. You mean it's not weatherized?
Fit committee,
Yeah, because I'm sure the guardrail's gonna be bought and that town grant match
Mhm.
is in play right now.
yeah, this was very new stuff with all the flooding. That was
Mhm.
different to look at.
Does anyone want to look at this over there? You can share it.
Matt would look at this like a meat face, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I will say that at the budget meeting, seeing actuals did come up. I think the town would run to see them more broadly.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I didn't have anything else. I mean, we're only the beginning of May. June is, starts to come a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd like some time to go over this. I don't know what we're doing with it today, but.
We're just looking at it. Yeah, there's no action. It's just basically, it's something that, we honestly should be doing every month, right? Because it allows you to, you're basically having a meeting with finance, right? And you're saying, how are we doing on spending? Where are we underspending? Where are we overspending? And this is certainly really helpful from a budgeting committee standpoint, right? Of like, I mean, are you guys not getting these in your budget committees? Yeah, you should be asking for them. Okay, yeah, right. And then the other thing we used to get with this, which I found really helpful too, was actually past fiscal years.
Yeah.
So you'd have your future budget, you'd have your past fiscal years, and then you can kind of compare and say, how it looks. But this is exactly how the report looks, but it would be nice to have a few more things. So I think that we should, moving forward, really have this maybe on the second meeting of the month.
Yeah.
Or the first meeting, Brenda, what do you think in terms of pulling
It
data?
takes time to close out the month, so
Yeah,
it would be better on the second
okay.
meeting of the month, and then.
And it would be
For
for
the
the
month
previous
prior.
month.
It would be period ending for the previous.
All right, so that would be, we should look at the calendar to see like what there would be one in,
I think that
July.
we can start that process up in our July 21st meeting. We can skip another month of it, because then it'll be actuals, right, in August.
Well, she'll
In the
close
August.
out, she'll have to close
Yeah.
out, and that has to stay open for so many weeks to
Yeah.
make sure all the bills are in and all before she can close out, but she can still do an expense report that shows you the expenses that are occurring throughout the month.
I think in July, we should see what we have at the end of June.
Yeah.
That I think we definitely
Yeah.
should. So I think that in July for the 21st meeting.
Yeah,
We should have a,
another closeout. Or budget. to
yeah,
actuals.
so that would be, budget to actual for through June. Okay. Alrighty, so, and we'll set the we'll have the July 7th be the tax rate date. Okay,
Right on time for Susan.
right on time for Susan Clark.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like to come up here, Susan, and be in front of the TV?
There's another comfy chair over here.
Yeah, you can sit next to Stacy.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Okay, great, yeah. So thank you. I requested an agenda item to discuss creating a task force to explore ways to improve the quantity and quality of citizen engagement in public decision making in Middlesex. That would include innovations for town meeting day and throughout the year. So I think everybody knows that the week since town meeting day have like revealed some concerns about this year's process, and that's why we're having a special town meeting. And so I've heard the budget committee folks say that they plan to do, I've heard Mark say it's sort of like a lessons learned debrief, or maybe you had a cooler name for it than that, but
That's the name.
what's that?
It's as cool as it gets.
Interested in incorporating more participation throughout the year, which in the budget process, which is an awesome idea. Town meeting was never tended to be the only time that towns get together to talk. And sort of parallel to that effort, I'm thinking, in addition to the budget process, just that our town meeting day and by extension, our other democratic participation would really benefit from an upgrade at this juncture. And I work with communities throughout Vermont, and a lot of towns are doing this right now. So there's some very interesting ideas that are coming out, a lot of innovative tools and configurations that across New England, actually, that different towns are using. So I would love to spend some time with anybody who's interested, sort of defining Middlesex's priorities, like the values that we all care about in terms of a healthy democracy, and then exploring some of these innovations. And just basically, it feels like in New England, the tension, especially when we talk about town meeting, is the tension between democratic quantity, like we want, but there are two good things, quantity, like access, inclusion, those are things that you get from a ballot. But then there's also democratic quality, like informed decision-making and communication and the ability to, for the executive and legislative branches to hold each other accountable, to see each other, to actually be able to amend from the floor. Those are things we get from a meeting that we wouldn't get from a ballot. So how do you get the benefits of both without the overuses of either? So again, a lot of towns looking at this, some very interesting things coming out. One that pops to mind immediately for me is these clickers that they use in Massachusetts. There's like 70 towns in Massachusetts that use these, and you check in to vote and you get a lanyard with a little clicker on it at your town meeting. And when it comes time for a vote, instead of doing the hand vote or the eye or a paper ballot, which we will see, paper ballots take a long time. It's a just very quick yes or no click. They're using these now in Lincoln. The town of Lincoln is the first town in Vermont to do it, but we'd have to get a grant because they're not cheap. But we could experiment with those. We could adopt those possibly. It allows for private, really quick floor voting. So nobody has to feel like they're on the spot. And other ideas, some of them would take longer, we might need a town governance charter to do, but for example, in Brattleboro, they're right now exploring the idea of a two-part town meeting where you have an in-person town meeting. You can amend all the things we do at our town meeting, but then it's all, a few weeks later by a ballot vote to basically confirm what happens at the town meeting. So things, the innovations like that are and there's like about 1,000 more innovations like that different towns are doing that. I think it would be cool.
I would much rather see like a diverse task force exploring creative options than kind of find ourselves limited to a a discussion of should we do West Billion Bound or not. We've had that fight before. It reduces us to kind of a polarizing either or choice. And I frankly think Middlesex can do a lot better than that. So that's my thinking.
Okay, are you looking for
I feel like right
us to give a
this
approval?
board has a lot on its plate right now. I understand that. And so I feel like for now, it would be enough for the select board to express interest, to express support. And, if that's of interest, I could work with some folks, anybody who's interested, or I could come up with a list of items to explore as a kind of a time frame. And at a future meeting, you could talk about, the more formal, how do you create, what's this task force, mission gonna be and what's the time frame and basically once May 9th is behind us.
Yes, sir.
One thing that struck me was, when you reported that we had 80 new families, 80 new homes, right? Purchased this year in Middlesex.
No, that could be.
And
I think maybe there were 80 new voters.
that's probably what it was.
80 new voters this year. Okay, so it's not necessarily homes purchased. I just thought, when I moved in 22 years ago, I was working for the Point, and I think you handed me, because you were doing Steam Ride with the Point, the book you created, and it had the trails in town and like some of the important numbers. I mean, obviously, I know we have the book that we get before town meeting every year. But that was like kind of a welcoming thing, and I would love to see as people move into town, that we have some type of like a welcome wagon gift, just like letting people know what's available here, like just a warm welcome into town.
Yeah, you're talking about the Middlesex Operators Manual.
Yes.
We did create two of those, and that is exactly the kind of thing that these kinds of groups do create. It was the Solutions Committee that created that, and right now we are in the process of converting a lot of the information that was created for the Operators Manual onto the new website. So when Middlesex does pop its new website, it will serve in a lot of ways, I think, as an operator's manual, because it is going to be much more, I think, understandable and bright and welcoming. But I really like the idea of maybe taking the best of from that website. And again, this would cost money to have pieces of to print anything, but maybe a little best of that's like, this is Middlesex, or what the Middlesex Operators Manual that at least tells people how to get some of that basic information. So that's the kind of stuff.
And also Colin Marshall, who's helping with the emergency management. I know he's figuring out ways to communicate in case of an emergency, and he might, that system or whatever is going on there might integrate itself somehow to this idea. I don't know.
Okay, so this isn't, remember we had this conversation about town meeting solutions committee and whether or not that was like a committee that the select board had to approve. And we decided it wasn't after talking to our council. Is this something that sounds similar to that? I wonder, would we have
It's up to this board, and we can take the time to talk about this now, or we could do it later. But the Solutions Committee really operates as a network to support the engagement and communication that the different groups in town do. So it'll, collect a bunch of small group facilitators, to help with who created What's Next Middlesex.
Yeah.
To create a candidates page. Make sure that town meeting has a dinner, make sure town meeting has childcare, those kinds of helping out on just on a regular basis. Whereas this task force, I would see it as it would have a finite period of time, and it would exist to create some generate ideas and maybe create some recommendations that would, I think it would definitely take a year. I think that it's important to look at what there's some very specific, like Brattleboro right now is in a charter process. And so I would want to definitely make sure that anything that we would be recommending would would be informed by some of the really deep research that's already being happening. So it wouldn't be, snap. But some stuff could, I mean, if this task force was like, whoa, we really like clickers, let's make that happen for next town meeting, or at least put it up as an option. That could happen in a shorter term.
I guess my question is, does the board need to somehow appoint people to this task force? Like sometimes that's what happens, and I'm wondering if this is that kind of,
I'm sort of thinking yes.
okay.
Doesn't have to be though. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
If you'd rather that the Blackboard kind of says, go find some people, talk, come back.
I'm okay with that to start, and I think that if it's something that we feel is like has this momentum that feels like it needs to be more structured, then I would say, I mean, I give my blessing to, you to start this process.
I would love to, I think that there was a lot of, frankly, really good ideas that came out of the concerns around town meeting this year. There were people who were like, hey, this happened and it should have been this way. And I want to acknowledge that. And also I really want to harness that energy. It's like, oh, there's some energy for change. There's interest. Great, let's coalesce that in a productive, constructive way that balances, because there are no easy answers. There is not one right answer. That part actually I do know. And what's right for one town might not be right for another town. So it's gonna have to be weighing the trade-offs of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I saw, given the amount of, let's call it feedback that was received of any part of that, it would seem it would be easy to procure some interest in that.
Maybe
It would seem like it. I guess you won't know until you know.
Well,
but-
it's sort of like the FIT committee. We don't tell you who can be on the FIT committee, do we? No. Right, so why couldn't it just be the task force committee? Town meeting
My
task.
comment for you,
Question
Liz.
two would be whether you're gonna document and have open meeting laws as it fall under, if we appoint somebody or establish a committee, it has to follow all those rules.
But you have open meeting, you advertise your meetings, don't you? Yeah. And take
I
that.
follow the rules, FIT follows the rules. I think what he's making point is.
Yeah, so I mean, if we form a task force or a committee around this, then they would have to follow those rules
Yeah.
as well. Is it easier for them to get started first, like
Informal.
Yes, informal, yes, I think
get the
so.
things rocking, then if things are starting to really develop, then come back and then we could form that committee if we feel it necessary.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Us.
Does that sound good?
Comment?
Yes, Bill.
It's also supporting, need your support, the select board, that there is interest because of what has happened in this past time to open up or make more information available for the people if they want to learn how the budget's made or how different parts of it is collected, information is collected to make decisions. This would allow them yes or no, but that it gives them an opportunity that if somebody wants to say about the budget or something, when they start, they can be as a sounding block as, what about this? And then the groups of the budget committee will evaluate and say, hey, we got it incorporated someplace else, or we don't have it yet. That's a good idea, maybe, whatever, but it's to get your support that there is going to be a process happening that's going to try to get more information out to the town to get a better, wider, a fairer discussion or inputs to make better decisions or wiser decisions for the whole group, not the ones that are outgoing and the other ones that sit back and just watch you, not afraid to present something to you. And we may, just like the votes and stuff, put it privately, paper ballots, then the people could speak their mind because they don't want nobody else to know possibly that what they voted or how they voted.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. So, I mean, I think I'm supportive of it. Yeah,
I'd like to
Stacy.
comment.
Yep, go ahead.
So I like to second Bill's comments and also just to say for posterity, I 110% support this entire initiative and just don't want to get in your way. So whatever you need from us, you know, you have my support, and also I want to make sure that, you know, the select board's involvement doesn't have a chilling effect on what you're trying to do either, because, you know, there's lots of issues and it's just questions about our, you know, conduct in the last couple of months that have been scrutinized. And also we bring the joys of open meeting law if you get enough of us in the room to talk shop. So, you know, there's just like a formality once you do that. So I want to find that balance between like support without, you know, getting in your way. And so adjacent to that, and speaking more to what Bill mentioned, someone that I was talking to had this interesting idea that at some point, like over the summer, you know, once the petition and the special meeting and the budget and the taxes are done, you know, similar, if not dovetailing with the lessons learned super awesome budget committee discussion, is like a facilitated discussion between the budget committee and the select board, outside of our normal rotation of meetings, where we just talk, we talk about the process of setting the budget and like the deliberation that goes into staffing decisions and what that looks like. And I would love for it to be recorded on Orca, you know, so that if any neighbor or voter has questions about like, how did you get to this number? We can say, you know, check out this, you know, 45-minute, hour-long, you know, hour discussion that's curated for the benefit of the voters and in the spirit of transparency about the process. Because like, I know when I came in on the board last year, I had no idea what was going on, and I still kind of don't. But I'm learning, and I think if we can make it easier and more accessible to, you know, anybody who has a computer and can access like an Orca recording, that seems like that would be a benefit to the community, because there's a lot of confusion or just like folks just don't, you know, quite grasp the scale of what we do and like how long it goes on. You know, and we come in after many granular discussions and presented at town meeting, and there's a lot of people that really would have, you know, benefited for some context. So that's my thought. That's something that I would love to see happen in the next year.
Well, I think the town administrator too, I think would have a real role in, you know, communication to the town that just isn't happening because of capacity, right? I don't know.
Well, I think it's important to emphasize on what Bill was saying, though, that everybody is welcome to attend any open meeting. You do not have to be on a board, on a committee, an official member of the town administration. Anyone is welcome to attend any meeting. So that's really important to emphasize. I know Bill was making it that would be an inviting place to do it, but I want to say that any meeting is open via Zoom or in person.
Paul,
Okay.
the comment in regards to yours, they need to publicize when a meeting actually is.
They do, it's required.
Yeah, 48 hours prior to the meeting.
They're
Someplace
posted.
where people can see it, maybe not in the town newsletter, newspaper, but maybe in Front Porch Forum if more people watch it. I don't know what, you know.
We do.
They all are, Bill.
Yeah, Front Porch Forum website.
Well, not the
And then-
budget meeting.
Bill's
wasn't
point
it?
is really good. Like, there's clearly a segment of our community that we're not
But
reaching.
doesn't know, or doesn't know that, or
we-
ignores that.
And so like, that seems like something that your people, if you gather the people, can tell us like, what can we do to up our like public relations game? Like, I have dreams of starting like you know, a town mailing list or a town newsletter, you know, all of these things that I don't have time for, but would love, you know, to diversify how we keep in touch so that folks who feel like, you know, they can't access the information that they'd like to have, you know, there's alternatives.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Stacy. Okay, so thank you, Susan. In the interest of time, so I want to talk to the board. It is 6:30 right now. We have to adjourn at 7 o'clock to do the Board of Civil Authority meeting. I I have a bunch of other business that might take 10 minutes.
Alright.
So the problem is that if we start talking about the class 4 road policy, that's gonna take the entire half an hour and won't be done.
I would move to adjourn the class 4 road policy workshop in part 2 because of developments that I want to talk about in the executive session. So they're they're loosely related. I'm fine if we axe this and deal with our other business instead to try, 'cause I'd really like to not have this meeting until 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know, shocking.
Ditto.
Okay. So are you suggesting that we put on pause the Middlesex class 4 road policy discussion
Until the next meeting.
until the next meeting?
I mean,
Or? Okay,
or do you want to clip it down to like 15 minutes?
yeah, I think we could maybe clip it down to 15 minutes. So can I do the other business
Yeah.
first?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so just as a reminder, I'm gone from May 10th to July 20th. Zara is going to be the chair. So if there's anyone who needs to send agenda items, please send them to Zara. And I think, so one of the weird things that's happening is that our email is changing over, right? While I'm
Also on May
gone.
20th.
Right, it's a weird time that's like, that will be, I think I'm gonna have to ask them to do an out of office reply to contact you, that guy Holland.
Well, and to
Or-
CC me everything on my Gmail account. Just gonna have to CC me with everything. Like send it to my Middlesex, but also CC me.
Yeah, yes, CC the Gmail account too, because,
Which is my name, Zara.Vincent@gmail.
right. I mean, that's what I do now for everything because of that. It's so hard to get into our emails, so I do both emails. And then, okay, so then the other thing is that while I'm gone, we, actually, do you mind bringing this item up, Stacy, about is that what I would like to do is for the board to designate Stacy to be our contact with VLCT, where we have to let VLCT know that there may be potential claims against the town. Is there anything more I need to say, Stacy, about that? Okay,
I'd make that
so,
motion.
okay, so is there a second to the motion that Stacy is that we give Stacy permission to contact and speak with VLCT and our lawyer as well about this?
I'll second it.
Okay, Larry seconds it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so then we got a bunch of correspondence. Sydney Pollock has confirmed that our LEMP is approved, so yay.
Yeah,
That's
you're
something we can cross off our list. And they have it on file. We did receive a number of emails that were sent to either CC'd or sent to me and Zara and other members of the board that we have here. I'm not going to read them because they are very long. But if anyone would like to see these emails that are sent from a resident who believes that there has been wrongdoing on the part of, in particular, Liz and Zara, you are welcome to see these emails. I will link them up there for anyone who wants to see them. Nikki Agostino heard a lot of gunshots late at night on Shady Rill Road. There were like 8 gunshots or something that were late at night. And her neighbors thought, well, maybe it's just someone shooting at the bear, getting into the compost. So she was concerned about like, what happens when you hear that? And, because we don't have a police presence in Middlesex, we don't have a sheriff, we don't have a contract with the sheriff. I suggested to her that if she was really concerned, she should call the police, but that the town itself doesn't have the capacity to deal with that. She also asked about noise ordinance, and I said that we have discussed that. Doesn't mean we can't bring it up again, but noise ordinances, like the default for the state is like basically sunrise to sunset for noise. And actually gunshots is included something that shouldn't be happening at night. But again, it's more about enforcing, right? Like, how do you enforce and fine someone for shooting their gun and it just is, it's not terribly practical for us to have a noise ordinance, I don't think. But that's just my opinion, and I would leave it to the board if that's something that we want to consider, but I told Nikki that we would bring it up. Under other correspondence. We don't need to decide now, but it is something that we,
I think we could add it to our goals.
yeah, if it's something we want to consider. It's again, small towns like this, it's hard when you don't have, it's like junk ordinances. You don't have a way of dealing with the junk. Why would we have an ordinance that we can't enforce, right? Or, put a $50 fine, on someone. Yes, Shelley.
Pushing out game orders, telling you to shoot bears and rubber bullets when you get in your trash or try to take your doors off your garage. That's
Yeah.
what game orders say to do.
I mean, the other part of that.
I don't know, are those noisy guns too?
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
they sound
yeah.
like a regular gun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the other part of it, coyote hunting is legal in Vermont and
Right.
happens through the night.
Oh, it does?
It
Okay,
does,
yeah.
and it's completely legal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
Gunshots are, I'll be honest, a very tough one to
Yeah.
enforce.
I think so too.
Especially in areas that don't have
Yeah.
the ordinance on gun use.
I guess that gives us our answer.
Yeah, so, and I think really what we do is we kind of default to the states if we had to, right? Which is we had some complaints about construction noises, but it was at sunrise, right? And yes, sunrise is at 6:30 in the morning, and that's when construction season is,
Well,
right? In
Earlier,
Vermont. Yeah,
in
earlier,
July.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and so you're just gonna, we have such a short season that they have to be up at 6 a.m. making noise. Okay, so the next thing is, and this is gonna take me a few minutes to explain, but there was a public records request for recently, in the last couple of days, regarding an incident that happened in July of 2023 between Jeremy Goff, who's mentioned in here, and our then road commissioner, Vic Dwyer. It was a couple weeks after the flood had happened, and there was a company, Hutchins, I think. J. Hutchins, who was having trucks deliver stone for road repair. Now, this is all my understanding, because I wasn't aware of anything about this incident until 6 months later. So it is my understanding of conversations that I had with then chair and then select board, town clerk, that Mr. Goff had called the town to with a phone call to express his anger and frustration with how he was treated when he went by Vic Dwyer, then road commissioner, by how he was treated by Mr. Dwyer when he tried to drop stone off on Vic's property. My understanding is that, and maybe somebody knows more about it than I do, but that there was miscommunication and Vic was not told that that someone in the town, whether that was the road foreman at the time or someone else, Steve Martin maybe, who was helping out at that time, gave permission for that stone to be dumped on Vic's property without Vic actually knowing that, like he hadn't gotten that message yet. I think Vic's property is often a landing space for rocks and things like that. And so someone said, just dump it there, gave the GPS coordinates to Mr. Goff, who came to deliver the stone and was verbally accosted by Vic Dwyer and was sworn at and told to get off his property or there would be a physical altercation. A physical altercation did not happen, but there were threats of it. And Mr. Goff left and called the town. He spoke on the phone with, is my recollection, with Peter Hood. This is my recollection from when we brought this up in March of 2024. He also called Sarah, who I have one document on an email that Sarah was sending to Mr. Goff as a test, because Sarah believes she asked Mr. Goff to put it in writing, the complaint. And that actually never happened. The part in writing never happened during that time frame, right after the altercation. The then chair, Peter Hood, did not feel it was important enough to bring to the board as a piece of public correspondence that our then road commissioner had said very unfriendly things and yelling at someone who was only trying to do their job of delivering stone, and they had the GPS coordinates and their boss told them deliver it here. Flash forward to March 2024, and Mr. Goff sent a letter to the town via email to Susan Clark, who then forwarded it to me. And I was then chair. I had just been elected chair. I put it on the agenda for a following meeting that we address this, because this was the first I had heard of it, was in March of 2024. And we brought it up in a meeting. I did not read aloud his letter. It was a very scathing letter. At that meeting, I didn't read it aloud. I said to everyone, because I just watched the video, I said to everyone, did everyone get a chance to read this letter from Jeremy? And we asked Vic what had happened, and Vic claimed that he didn't swear, and he claimed that yes, it happened, but that it wasn't, he was not being impolite to the person, to Mr. Goff.
Nor did he address him in his road commissioner capacity.
Yes, he also said he did not address him in his road commissioner capacity, and that he was a citizen who, or a landowner who someone was trying to just randomly dump stone on his land and he didn't know about it. So we decided at that meeting that, okay, this is, and I said at the meeting, let's remember, we all, if we're public officials, we wear our public official hat even when we're not public officials. People, know that we work, we may be a board member, we may be a road commissioner, and that it's best to be polite and courteous to the people. That then went to, that meeting was filmed by Orca. It was a glitch in our Zoom. I think we either forgot to record it or the recording didn't come through. I don't know the answer to that. But Sarah then sent Jeremy Goff the minutes the next day and said, here are the minutes from the meeting. There was a glitch in the video, which is true. There was no Zoom video for this. And Orca usually takes a couple weeks before they post a video. So the Orca video was not available to share with Mr. Goff. Mr. Goff did not think we handled it properly and sent a follow-up email. The next meeting, I read that email into the record. And I'd also apologized that he had had a bad experience at the town. And why am I bringing this up now? I'll tell you why. Because during our public records request, a citizen said they would like more information about the altercation between Jeremy Goff and Vic Dwyer. And so I sent an email to everyone that works on the board, and I didn't have Jeremy's email. So I put it in this, you've all done this before, you put it in the CC to see what is their email. And I didn't cut and paste it, I left it in there as a CC. So I copied it and I said, could anyone find information from, did you get any correspondence from Jeremy Goff? And if so, please forward it to me. Jeremy was CC'd and he said, what's going on? And so this then brought up the same complaint from Mr. Goff that he was mistreated by Vic Dwyer. And what I'm about to do is not apologize for Vic's behavior because I wasn't there. I don't know what Vic said, but I will apologize that any kind of correspondence that comes through, whether it's written or verbal, especially to the extent of his complaint, which was very serious. If someone had treated me the way that Mr. Goff claimed he was being treated, I would want the town to know as well. That did not happen. Then Chair Peter Hood, again, we were in the throes of the flood. There were a lot of things happening, and I think we were probably getting a lot of complaints at that time, and that did not make it as an important piece of an agenda. Whereas when I became chair, I thought it was an important piece of the agenda, which is why I put it in a March or April, I think it was, because it came at a time where you had a meeting. The next meeting was in April. So there were a couple meetings in April where we brought it up. After that, so at any rate, that is why. And so I wanted to also acknowledge that after we received that complaint from Mr. Goff, and there were other circumstances that were happening that we went into an executive session, and when we came out of executive session, we voted to remove Mr. Dwyer as road commissioner in June of 2024. So I want to officially apologize to Mr. Goff for the fact that we did not, back in July 2023, sufficiently or at all investigate his complaint about what had happened. And that I'm sorry it took us 6 months in which we did start to do investigating. So I think this is for us a lesson that correspondence, like all of this correspondence here, I am going to be sharing in perpetuity. Anyone who emails me, it's all public. So Mr. Goff, if you ever hear this, which you may or may not, I'm sorry the way the town handled your complaint. Okay, so there's that. Yes. Can you state your name, please?
My friends call me Wayne, but you call me Mr. Experiment. I'll tell you right now.
Oh, Wayne,
William Fitzgerald
Under the bus because of this guy. Can you substantiate what he said? Were you there? You're taking his word over Vic Dwyer's.
Okay, I'm not apologizing for Vic Dwyer and his behavior.
apologizing.
No, I am apologizing for the way the town
That's wrong.
did not investigate the complaint.
Why
And we
did
did
you
not.
apologize to him? You don't know if what he said is true.
She didn't apologize for
You were
that.
talking for the town. Why are you apologizing for me? I'm the town.
I am
That's all.
apologizing on behalf of the board,
Okay, the board.
the board.
Okay,
The
you
board.
say the board.
Yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Goff, I'm apologizing on behalf of the board, not the town. Are there any,
For the way it was
for
handled.
the way it was
She
handled?
is taking no credit. She
Yeah.
said she's not taking any credit for what may or may not have happened.
But I would hope that anyone here who made a complaint about anything that they felt went to the level of a public official doing something that they felt wasn't the right thing to do, that their complaint would come to the board, and his complaint did not. And so that's what I'm apologizing for, is that his complaint did not come to the board. And I think it was mishandled in that regard. And I don't think it's okay for people to say, you know what, this guy's full of, you know what, I'm not gonna pay attention to him. We can say that about anyone, right? And that's not fair. That's not democratic, and it's not fair. So that's all I have to say about it. Okay, so we have 10 minutes now to talk about the class 4 road policy. Stacy pulled together, yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
We had the correspondence from Sam, did we not?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yep, no, yeah, we had the correspondence from Sam that wasn't on here. So Sam sent a email. Can I just read it? Is that all right? Yeah. I would like to address two topics. This is to the board and the town clerk. The statement made at the 4/21/2026 select board meeting regarding the listers budget request. During the meeting, Zara Vincent said the listers put in a budget for a $10,000 fireproof cabinet budget item that should be looked at. No, I'm sorry. Wait. That
Liz, can
quote,
we clarify, it was actually addressed to me personally with the board copied.
oh no, it says here too. Liz, Zara, Lauren, Stacy, it's to everybody. I have it to everybody.
Got it, the
Okay.
reply was just to me.
Okay, yeah. During the meeting, Zara Vincent said, quote, the listers put in a budget for a $10,000 fireproof cabinet budget item that should be looked at more than just targeting the town administrator if we're going to be shaving, end quote. The listers did not put in a $10,000 line item for a fireproof cabinet. The line item is $3,000, and that figure came directly from pricing at Staples. We included this request because we need secure storage space for the mandatory reappraisal, and we do not currently have adequate space. Additional details are included in the attached email exchange with Larry Rooney, and if you look at what we submitted during the budget time. We would, of course, attempt to save money where possible, but we could not guarantee that a lower cost option will be available. My concern with this comment is that it gives the appearance of retaliation against the listers because of the petition. I need to understand whether that is what is happening, because that would be extremely inappropriate. Number two, comments made at the 4/21/26 meeting regarding Shelley Desjardins' front porch forum post. In that meeting, Stacy Scadberg criticized Shelley Desjardins for wording something incorrectly in her FPF post. I would like to remind Stacy of her own post on 4/1/26 as Stacy Knight, where she stated that the quote, town clerk, assistant clerk, and town treasurer are defined and limited by law. None of them in their current capacities can do the work that needs to be done or would be done by a town administrator. That statement is incorrect. While those positions do have duties defined by statute, there's nothing in statute that says they cannot perform additional responsibilities. For example, Sarah Merriman served as both clerk and select board assistant. Stacy's husband's FPF on 4/7 state saying our town may shut down on July 1st is also incorrect, as shown in the information I sent to you all on 4/14/26. His 4/21 post claiming that people are, quote, advocating for a return to the old system where clerk staff would come under control of the select board without voter approval by hijacking the budget, end quote. I do not see how that can be true, as Sarah Merriman was on the ballot 2014, 15, 16, 17, 20, and 23. I wouldn't attempt to throw stones when you live in a glass house. Thank you. Sam. Okay. We have 5 minutes if anyone wants to discuss this, but the meeting will adjourn at 7 for the BCA. Are there any? Sam, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it's just a question, if with watching the video of that meeting, because I wasn't able to attend the full meeting, watching the video was really disappointing. And it seemed like there was targeting and retaliation against the listers, and I just wanted to address that and ask the select board if that's what's happening because of the petition or a different reason. So it's just a question.
Yes, sir. So for me, absolutely not. And I'm sorry that I got the number wrong in the year or whatever we've been.
It was a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know how I transposed that to $10,000 because I remember having a conversation with you through text that night saying 3,000, that's a lot of money for a cabinet. And you explained to me that has to be fireproof. And I was like, I get it, you know.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I also targeted the commissioner, and it was not targeting. I was just trying to find the money to help us keep Brenda. So that was just, those were two things that I remembered in my head that maybe we could shave a little bit from. And again, I thought it was 10 grand. I don't know how I got it from 3 grand to 10 grand in my head.
So I was a little confused by the email because I don't think I was part of some of the context in there. I didn't have memory of. So was that part of a budget committee meeting or a select board meeting?
So I had watched the 4/21 select board meeting. I missed most of it, but then I logged in at the end, but I missed this conversation and I watched it later. And that's where these topics kind of came up. But the lister cabinet was something we put in the budget as listers. And that's because we need space for the town record appraisal that's mandatory. And that was a line item. We looked at Staples, it was $3,000. we're going to attempt to find it cheaper, but it's not, we need to do the time of year appraisal, we need the space. So some of the comments that were made about like shaving that, I didn't know where that was coming from now, especially. And then like, it seemed like the attack on, you know, the way she had worded something incorrectly. It just all didn't seem appropriate.
All right, thank you, Sam. I will just also, just quickly, I'm not entirely sure what Stacy's husband said, but I just in response to your question or your comment about the clerk staff. So I think historically, I think as long as I've been on the board, the clerk, the town clerk or the treasurer, I mean, there's been all kinds of like combinations of job positions, right? Sarah, as long as I know, was the town clerk assistant. And when she wasn't, her first year, she wasn't elected, she was appointed because it was in between, it was like an interim period. And the job description at the time was part-time town clerk and part-time select board assistant. And she actually had fewer hours of town clerk. It was like 18 and 20 or something like that. 18 for town clerk and 20 for select board assistant. And at the time, this is my recollection, Mary Skinner, who was on the board, she had suggested that the position have more hours that are under the control of the select board in case the select board, you know, decided that this person wasn't working out. That person probably wouldn't want to be a town clerk for just 18 hours a week. They'd want a full-time job. So it kind of put the power in the select board's hand.
I think again, it was on the vote, and if you look back in the vote, and she was always voted in, not as a select board assistant.
She was only voted in as town clerk,
Town
right?
clerk.
Right, and it just happened, she was paid the same amount of hourly rate for both positions, but she was more of more of her hours were devoted to a select board assistant. And I think that, you know, the question is not so much, and I also want to just quickly say that, you know, when we put on the agenda for the town meeting, that we wanted to have potentially the opportunity to appoint a clerk and appoint a treasurer is because of the staffing concerns we have, right? At the time that we put that on the warning, which has to be done months in advance of town hall, no one was running for town clerk. And so we were worried that we were going to hit March 4th and there would be no town clerk. But then Bridget applied, but by then the warning is already created. And so you can't really go back and say, well, let's think about this next year, right? It was already on the warning. And Cheryl actually was in favor, even though we already knew she was running, she was in favor of having it potentially be an appointed position.
This was Bridget.
Yeah, and so that's sort of where that all came from. And the fact is that especially after, I mean, the reason, not just the reason Sarah left, and she's been here for a long time, she deserved to go and she was writing her books and all that kind of stuff. But it became very clear that you couldn't do town clerk, select board assistant duties and also be town clerk and do it well, right? I mean, that's what Cheryl spent a year cleaning up stuff that just didn't get done, right? And so I'm not sure this really addresses, because I'm not entirely sure what he is saying here, but the reality is
My
that,
husband?
yeah.
I mean, I can interpret.
Yeah, I don't understand that our advocating for a return to the old system where
Yeah.
staff would come.
I'd be happy to try and do that.
If you can do that, like,
Have
1
a
minute.
really tiny amount
Yeah.
of time. So first off, my husband, like, for the record, my husband is not a member of the select board. He is a private citizen. He is therefore entitled to his own poorly worded front porch forum posts. I don't write those for him, and so there's that. But in terms of like what that, mishmash of verbiage means, the point he was trying to make is that so benefits are a really significant component to any job, right? In this case, if you're a full-time employee, you get health insurance, you're entitled to the retirement, the thing Dorinda mentioned earlier, workers' comp, And Sarah Merriman's position was intentionally designed that for her to keep her benefits as a full-time employee, she was effectively more of a select board, she served at the pleasure of the select board. Because if the select board terminated her as select board assistant, her hours as a town clerk would have deprived her of eligibility for full benefits. And so in that way, the select board kind of had the upper hand on her for many years. Yes, she ran as town clerk. Yes, she got voted in on many years, but her position and her benefits and like the sort of full-time, full compensation package was always contingent on the select board keeping her on as their assistant. And so, when we had posed that question at town meeting about like, shall we convert this town clerk elected position to an appointed one? That's basically what Sarah was if she wanted to keep her benefits. It's just that the select board never asked the town for permission to do that. They just said, your town clerk is, 49% and your select board assistants to make your full-time job is 51%. And that was that. I think what we tried to do is just say, okay, like, let's recognize that the town clerk should be or could be an appointed position and go that route where they do serve, at the, whatever, they're managed by the select board. And the town said no, very clearly. And so to the extent that we, at one point had a cohort convincing us that the town clerk's office could fill in for the town administrator, that would have required significantly reconfiguring the proportions of their duties. Like you can only have, of those 32 hours, then they would have like half at select board, half as town administrator, half as town clerk. And like that kind of overlap, you lose the independence of an elected official when you are like basically dictating whether they keep their benefits or not. And I think that was the point my husband was trying to make, and mine too, in the sense that like, a town clerk has this really narrow lane of what they're technically allowed to do. And if Bridget decided she wanted to do like some of the duties of a select board assistant, we'd have to go back and completely reconfigure her job, including her hours, and how her benefits are allocated and what they're tied to. And so the point is simply that like that seems pretty clear at this point that that's not something that the town office is interested in doing. And I was surprised to see the note because I feel like a lot of that's either like, Shelley and I disagreed on phrasing, but I also think that was like asked and answered, and now we've moved on. And the rest of this involving the budget is going to be addressed at our special meeting.
Okay, thank you. So we do need to adjourn for the BCA. But okay, Bridget, do we have a list? Do we have the voter checklist?
The voter checklist is downstairs.
Yeah, we need it. That's.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, yeah.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
So now, we're gonna ask everyone to, leave. And we're gonna have an executive session under, what is it? Stacy, could you please repeat it?
Section 1 VSA 313 subpart 1E.